I'm going to tell you a story that I don't think you have heard yet. I think everyone heard the last story I talked about. I don't know that you've heard about this one. Um, and there's maybe 3 parts to it. And it's kind of disturbing. But let me briefly go through parts 1 and 2, and then we'll spend some time on part 3. So here's part 1. Last month, a 22-year-old woman with intellectual disabilities, she was kidnapped in Crawford County, Arkansas. Basically, 2 men went to her home. They were wearing ski masks. They abducted this poor woman and they drove her to an empty field. They tied her to a tree. I think they used zip ties on her hands. And guess what? This young woman, she managed to run away from them. She got loose. She got free, and the men chased after her and they caught her and they put her back on the tree. And guess what happened then? She escaped again. She ran away. She heard them mention, like, go get a gun. And she kept running. The bravery of this woman. She kept running. She found some house. She got in there. She managed to call 911. And at that point, law enforcement came to her rescue. And one officer later said, this woman, quote, was in fear for her life and clung tightly to a teddy bear the entirety of me speaking with her during her interview. So, horrifying story, but that woman in question is doing okay. Here's part 2. They caught the people who did this. And it wasn't just the 2 men. It's this whole group of people. And this is where it gets really weird. Because this woman on the left, Tammi Hamby, guess who that is? That would be the 22-year-old woman's mother. And the woman over here, Shannon Childers, that is apparently the in-home nursing assistant who helps care for the 22-year-old woman. And those 2 dudes, they're just randos who this one hired because they were going to do this kidnapping. So what the hell is going on here? Here's what happened. The woman's mother, Tammi, she staged this whole kidnapping. She basically got everyone on board to do it. And what I learned about the 22-year-old woman, who's the Tammy's daughter, is that the daughter was adopted when she was 6 weeks old. Like, she's been part of this family. She's adopted. She's been part of this family her entire life. She has these intellectual disabilities, and her mother decided this is the way we're going to teach this girl a lesson. Now, why did she need to be taught a lesson? Apparently, according to Tammi Hamby, her daughter was apparently talking to strangers online. And someone she was talking to was pretending to be the country music star Luke Bryan. It was not Luke Bryan. And despite pleading with her daughter not to talk to strangers, the girl kept doing it. So the mother thought, I need to scare you into being obedient. So that's when she got in touch with the nursing assistant who helps out at home. The nurse hired those 2 other men, and they staged this kidnapping. And this is what an article said about it. If I could pull this up. Check this out. Arrest documents said the plan was to have someone pretend to be associated with Luke Bryan and communicate with Hamby's daughter to coordinate a meetup. The plan was then to have the person pick Hamby's daughter up, take her to a field up the road, and demand money before tying her to a tree. The warrant says then Hamby was set to show up and rescue her. But apparently one of those dudes reportedly took a wrong turn and ended up in the wrong field, the warrant said. Hamby's daughter was zip-tied and tied to a tree, as I pointed out. I will also tell you that according to a reporter at the River Valley Democrat Gazette, they got a hold of the warrant, and this is what it said. One of those dudes hid in the trunk wearing a ski mask as they drove. The other guy pulled into a field, let the first guy out of the trunk, donned a ski mask, and both men demanded money from the young woman. woman. And when she said she had no money, they pulled her from the car. Like, this is terrifying. This is like ICE level terroristic shit that they're pulling on this poor young woman. And she's going along with it because she's afraid for her life until courageously she thinks she can run away from these people. Like, every adult involved in this story is just the worst person imaginable. And thankfully, like I said, they've been caught, they've been arrested, they now face kidnapping charges. I will tell you something else about these people, which is that Tammi Hamby's husband, who was not part of this plot, he spoke to the media about all this after she was arrested, and check out what he said about all this. Crawford County prosecutor Kevin Holmes pushed back on Jeffrey. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up for a second. Jeffrey Hamby, that's his name. He said he and his wife reached out to local police about the scammer that their daughter was talking to online, but he claims nothing was done. He said Arkansas State Police traced the predator's number to Nigeria, but nothing came of that. The prosecutor pushed back about their inaction, saying law enforcement cannot start making arrests based on suspicious activity. The law enforcement that I deal with are always willing to help, as is our office. And so this idea that we're blaming law enforcement is pretty ridiculous. Just because there's suspicious activity doesn't just allow us to just go out and start rounding up people. Parents have some responsibility. I mean, this is a special needs girl who, if there's issues with the internet, then you just cut her off from the internet, which I think kind of makes sense. But anyway, because Tammi felt that there was nothing that they could do to talk some sense into their child, they decided to stage the kidnapping, which happened on November 17th, just a couple of weeks ago. And her husband, I wanted to share this part with you. Where did it go? Here's the part I wanted to share with you. He is acting like he's the victim in all this. This is what he said to the media. Now the DHS has taken my daughter from me, and my wife is arrested for trying to do the right thing, for trying to save my daughter, who has never known evil, has been sheltered all of her life, and we couldn't talk her into understanding that danger existed. And so we wanted to show her that evil does exist. And now she's in DHS custody. Basically, the government took the child from this family, even though she's 22. And my wife is facing jail time. Jeffrey admitted that the plot was ill-conceived and really poorly executed. How's that for an understatement? Noting that the bruising his daughter got from the zip ties was accidental, and that a practice run of the kidnapping was conducted to try to keep things like that from happening. You guys, they held a practice run of the kidnapping of their daughter. This dude is like, I had nothing to do with it. But you guys, I talked to my wife and she said they practiced all of this. They had practiced earlier that day with these zip ties to leave them loose so she could slip them off. Instead, in the struggle to get away, she tightened the zip ties and it bruised her wrists. Who would have thought this 22-year-old would have tried to run away and save her own life? Jeffrey ended the interview by imploring that Tammi was never planning to harm their daughter and that she hates that she's being disparaged like this. Why won't anyone think of the poor kidnappers? They never get the respect they deserve. Okay, so what have we learned from parts 1 and 2 so far? It's that these parents who insisted on disciplining their daughter by staging a pretend kidnapping and forever traumatizing her have no business taking care of children since their own moral compass is completely broken. I hope that's clear. I think that's clear. Okay, that's the end of part 2. Why am I talking about this on this channel? Like, what is the connection here? Well, everything I just told you would be pretty messed up already on its own. What makes this story completely ridiculous is that Jeffrey and Tammi Hamby are well known in their community, not for the kidnapping, that just happened, but it's because they have spent the past several years trying to protect children from the scourge of You guessed it, gay people. All of this began in like 2022. And basically, here's what happened. Tammi Hamby was a member of the Crawford County Quorum Court. And all you need to know is like there's 13 people on this government body. And even though like the public library system is appropriated a certain amount of money, the Quorum Court has the ability to prevent the library from getting that money. And in late 2022, Jeffrey and Tammi wrote a letter to the library board and the Quorum Court saying, hey, I saw you have a display for Pride books. And not only do we want you to get rid of that display, we want you to remove all those Pride books from the watchful eyes of children. If you don't want to ban the books, we want you to move them to a separate section. And she specifically cited the harm that not doing that would cause. Let me show you this. This is the letter. Look at the date on this. November 10th, 2022. Where did I get this from? This is from a lawsuit that was later filed. But look at this. This is from the Hambys. We are concerned about the agenda that is being pushed by the Van Buren Public Library, aiming education of alternative lifestyles to prepubescent children. I'm going to skip ahead. We do not agree with that lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. Our issue is with the constitutional rights of parents and our religious liberties being infringed upon by this progressive woke ideology normalizing and equating homosexual and transsexual lifestyles with heterosexual family units. And doing this without parental consent or the ability to opt out? Oh my God. They have purchased with taxpayer money several books about alternative lifestyles that are aimed at prepubescent children. Ma'am, they are just called children. You don't have to go further than that. Some of these books are available in board book form, which tells you the age they are targeting. Book titles are included with this letter. Then they make a public display in front of the library with these books. This represents an agenda to indoctrinate our community, but especially our children with this content. So this couple writes this. Oh, what else do they say in this stupid letter? Look right up here. Public libraries should not become a place where children are exposed to radical sexual ideology. And I like this part as well at the top of your screen. Exposing our prepubertal children to colorful picture books equating homosexual and transsexual behavior to and as normal as heterosexual parenting without the consent of the parents subverts our God-given rights as parents and discriminates against us based for our religious beliefs. Oh my God, that was writing that's as good as Samantha Fulnecki. Prepubertal. They're mad about colorful picture books equating homosexual and transsexual behavior. Those are not picture books showing sex positions. It's like picture books saying, hey, look, there are two dads in this household. That's literally all we're talking about here. And then finally here, our parental rights and religious liberties are being subverted by a progressive woke ideology. Yeah, she said it again. Driven by the library director and her employees. Many professionals would still consider this behavior child abuse. Oh, child? Apparently that's a bad thing in this family for the Hambys. And this board-certified family physician, that would be Jeffrey Hamby, in this community for over 25 years is one of them. Oh my God. Okay, so that's the stupid letter this couple wrote to the library years ago. So apparently allowing children to have easy access to books in which two men or two women are shown as married, that is tantamount to child abuse, said the woman who kidnapped and injured her own special needs daughter to teach her a lesson. Now, I will show you one other thing that was in the court documents. Apparently, Jeffrey Hamby, the husband / physician, he delivered a public statement to the Quorum Court where he did this. Check this out here. It's the highlight. I tried to highlight this. I don't know if it came through, but Look at the highlighted bit. Dr. Hamby spoke briefly. Ask yourself, as leaders of our community, is teaching our child that they may be queer or homosexual or a drag queen the best use of our limited tax resources? I don't, these people don't read the books because none of these books are like, do you want to be a homosexual? That's not what Elmo is telling anybody. What are they talking about? Like it's a tiny book. It'll take you 30 seconds to read it. Have you tried? None of these people try. Now, I want to show you one other thing here, which is that there was a news report about this letter and what they were trying to do to defund the library as a result of this. And it's behind a paywall, so I had to figure out a good way to show this to you. But check this out. In this article, this is an interesting point here. The Hambys were supported by the River Valley City Elders, a community organization that touts itself as ambassadors for Christ who stand in the gap for our cities spiritually through prayer, unity, and activism. So basically, while they're writing this letter trying to defund the library, there is a Christian organization that is that has their back here. And I got to show you the website for this Christian organization. Check this out. City Elders Governing the Gates. This is the most whacked out website. River Valley City Elders welcomes you. All right, what do they believe in here? They want to stand in the gap for our cities so that, what do they want to do? As Christ followers, we have joined together to educate, motivate, and activate. They want to build a culture that is attacking the moral foundation. They want to counter the foundation. I don't know what they want anymore. It's a weird website. They meet weekly. There's some weird stuff here. What do they want to do? They want to encourage the drafting of civil laws which reflect a biblical worldview and Judeo-Christian values and ethics. So they want a theocracy. Got it. They want to identify and encourage godly leaders to run for public office. They want to glorify God through the lordship of his son, Jesus Christ, in the church, civic government, and business. Holy crap, I found a cult. So anyway, that was the letter. And guess what? That letter and the Hamby's advocacy had an effect because that quorum court, the officials on that quorum court, they pressured the library's administrators to remove LGBTQ children's books from the shelves, put a prominent color label on them, and then create a brand new social section for those books. Like very much a separate but equal section in the library. And it wasn't just books about LGBTQ people either. According to a text message or an email that Tammi Hamby sent that also came out in court documents, check out what she wrote to somebody. I personally asked her to move other books that might be a problem, like books with pictures of girls inserting tampons that she brought to my attention. She agreed that day, then did not move them. Said in a meeting it was oversight. She's mad about a library book that teaches girls how to put in a tampon. Like, that is 100% not a sexual thing. So why are you trying to move it? This lady just has a problem with anything and everything. It's just weird. So, by the way, in case you're wondering which books they didn't like, these came out as well. Oh, I'm sorry. The books included Uncle Bobby's Wedding, which is about a same-sex wedding. There's a book called The Ring Bearer that they wanted to file in a different section that also has gay characters. But anyway, here's the takeaway from all this. The library people, including the library system's director, they had a choice to make here that it's really awkward because they knew that books should not be banned or segregated. They knew that it was illegal to do that, but they also don't want to lose the library's funding because that would be bad for the community. They don't want to lose their jobs because it's their jobs. And so what do you do here? So the library's director was like, how about we compromise? We will create a different section for books that might offend conservative Christians just to make sure the funding still comes through because we need the funding. Oh, this is a part I wanted to share with you here. According to a lawsuit that later occurred, look at number 20. The social section also includes books that the former library director thought may challenge right-wing Christian sensibilities. For example, the social section books include a book on world religions, can't have that around, a book about people with disabilities, how dare they, and a book that normalizes blended families, i.e., families in which both parents are divorced and have children from prior relationships. So it's not just books about gay people that they wanted moved away. They didn't want books about disabilities. They didn't want books citing other religions. Like, it's just what makes conservative Christians flip out. Let's move those books. And so this is what the library director suggests. And I think I'm on her side, not because I want the books segregated, but because I kind of sympathize with the fact that she's in a no-win situation here. And she said, fine, how about we segregate the books, but you keep giving us funding and you allow my people to keep their jobs. So I get that. But after they did this, several members of the library's board resigned. And normally it would be the library's director who appoints replacements until an election can be held. But guess what happened this time around? It turned out one of Tammi Hamby's friends, his name is Chris Keith, he became the incoming county judge, and he decided he's going to appoint the replacements himself. And so guess who he appointed to the library board of directors? Tammi Hamby, our kidnapper. He appoints her to become chairwoman of the Crawford County Library System. And at that point, the library's director is like, I am resigning too. And she later filed a defamation lawsuit. I'm not going to get into all of that, but she said she was forced out as director, even though she had done everything these Christian zealots wanted. So as you might guess, none of this went over well with the literate part of the community. And so some parents in the community, they sued over the separate but equal part of the library, and they were successful. A federal judge soon ordered the library officials to get rid of that separate section and put the kids' books back where they belong. And this is what the judge said at the time, if I could find this here. Here we go. This is what the judge wrote. It is unquestionably true that the First Amendment permits public libraries to restrict minors' access to materials that are not age appropriate. But while those restrictions will inevitably be content-based, they must still be viewpoint neutral. It is one thing to restrict minors' access to sexually explicit material, but a very different thing to restrict minors' access to unpopular opinions. Here, the undisputed evidence shows that the social section was created not only for the former purpose, but also for the latter, which violates the First Amendment. So thank goodness that judge was right. So the thing is, here's where we're at. The library system lost the federal lawsuit, as they should have. Tammi Hamby later argued that the library system, which she was now in charge of, should pay the legal bills instead of the county, which technically made them do this. And think about that for a second. A representative of the library board was arguing that the library system should be further punished for doing the illegal thing that she always wanted them to do. Because her only goal this entire time had been to destroy the public library system. And now that she's in charge, she's like doging this shit. She's like, oh, you can take away our money? Yes, why don't you go ahead and do that? According to an article I just saw, do you know how much this library system and the county have had to pay to settle and deal with all these lawsuits? The count is currently over $575,000. That is the tangible damage that one crazy ass Christian woman has caused this entire community. This is an article from the Arkansas Advocate. Yeah, the legal fees facing Crawford County defendants in both lawsuits now exceed $575,000. Okay, here's another thing. Do you remember what the story was about in the first place? It was about how Tammi Hamby kidnapped her daughter and like traumatized her. Yeah. So that kidnapping happened on November 17th. Well, on November 24th, like a couple weeks ago, she submitted her resignation to the library board. It happened a week after the kidnapping. And everyone's like, Tammi, why are you resigning from the board. You have all the power. And she's like, well, haha, I'm moving. So I guess I got to leave the board. And everyone's like, oh, didn't know you were moving, but okay. And they accept her resignation. And then a few days later, Tammy's in the news. And everyone knows why she's actually leaving. So, what began as a story about the grotesque cruelty of two Christian parents who terrorized their own vulnerable special needs daughter turns out to be a much larger story about how conservative Christian extremists just destroy everything they touch. The Hambys built their public identities around the notion that they are moral guardians, right? They pretended to be warriors against the threat of LGBTQ people. And not just actual people, but like fictional characters in children's picture books. And then when they were confronted with an actual parenting challenge, which is a legitimate challenge, which is my kids on the internet and I don't like them talking to strangers, what do I do about it? Fair point, fair question. What did they do? They resorted to violence and deception and psychological torture. They keep talking about we've got to safeguard innocence, but what are they doing in practice? Like, this isn't a fluke. This is what we see all the time. How many stories have we talked about where the loudest, bigoted voices are the ones hiding the most hypocritical secrets? How many pastors have we seen say we got to protect our kids because gay people are out to get them? And then you find out they're harboring sexual predators in the church, or they are the predators themselves, right? The Hambys waged war on librarians because they were shelving books about LGBTQ families. They called it child abuse. That was their words. Even as they orchestrated a literal kidnapping of their own daughter. They wanted censorship to protect minors, and then they organized the physical restraining of their own daughter. Like, there is Christian hypocrisy, and then there is whatever the hell the Hambys are doing. That's why you can never trust these vocal Christian moms for liberty types whenever they pretend to be moral authorities, because they don't give a shit about kids. All they care about is power. The most dangerous thing in Crawford County, it's not those kids' books, it's this couple. And because of what they did, the entire community has suffered, not just their daughter. So again, let this be a warning against ever trusting aggressive Christian culture warriors who they claim to speak for everybody, but they only ever represent a small sliver of local bigots. Like, there's no amount of Bible quoting or anti-LGBTQ fear mongering that can cover up for their own cruelty and hypocrisy. I'll stop there for now. What questions we got here? Thanks for that donation. I cannot, as the mom of a neurospicy tiny human, fully express my outrage. I'm nauseous and beside myself. They need some intense therapy, to be polite. Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. I appreciate you chiming in, and I am also outraged. I'm online with strangers right now. And you know what? My name is Luke Bryan, so I got something to sell you. That's the thing. Look, I totally I have a kid who plays Roblox. I know Roblox has had issues with kids talking to people who they shouldn't talk to. But one of the ways you deal with this is you have a conversation about this stuff. You prevent them from talking to people online. You could change the settings if you need to. There are ways to deal with this. And by the way, if you have kids right now, every parent knows this is the discussion you are going to have. I don't know. At no point have I ever thought, you know what I should do? Let me grab some zip ties and let me hire some helpers, and I'm going to scare my kid into doing the right thing. Maybe I went to the wrong church or something. Did they go into the wrong field during the practice kidnapping? I have so many questions about all the logistics for all of this. I don't know. I want to know. Every accusation is a confession for those people. Very true. Thank you for that donation. I saw this episode on Arrested Development. The guy's arms falls off at the end. I did not watch that show, so I don't get the reference, but I'm sure a lot of people do. So thank you. Why so many Christians have problems with tampons and other menstrual related topics. I Thanks for that donation, by the way. I think the answer is they don't like to discuss anything that happens like south of the waist. They're just uncomfortable with all of it, no matter what is going on. And it's not just a purity culture thing. It's just they are functionally unable to have mature discussions about any of this stuff, which is sad because this isn't even about like sex education. This is just basic human nature. Like you got to talk about it. And by the way, it's not just you talk about it with your daughters either, right? Your son should know what's going on as well, but they're really bad at it because they've trained these people in these conservative churches to just think anything south of the border is something you should never discuss, never talk about. And then one day you will get married, and then suddenly you're an expert in everything. Your sex life will be amazing on day one, whereas the day before was don't talk about it. It's horrible. It's a sin. It's all bad. So if the parents go to prison, who takes care of the 22-year-old daughter? Well, first of all, the dad has not been charged with anything because, as far as I know, the dad did not know this is going to happen. He's just trying to defend the mom after the fact. But I don't know. I heard she has a caretaker. So, Luke Bryan needs to write a song about this. Man, look at how they drag Luke Bryan into this whole story. Unfair to that guy.